Most frustrating loss of the season for the New York Mets in Atlanta to the Braves on Tuesday. That plays continues since the 90s to be a house of horrors for the Mets. You're watching Mets Daily. Smash that thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to Mets Daily. Become a Mets Daily Insider. Just click that join button. $5 a month. Support the channel. Support me. We really appreciate your support. First exclusive insider video is coming this weekend, and the watch party, our first one, will be next week during one of the Mets-Braves games at Citi Field. So become an insider below. Comment below. We'll be reading each day the comments from the previous day at the end of every show. So have your chance to be shouted out. Give us some good stuff to get into, and we'll read your comments. Well, the Mets did not read the signs of hey, you need a win, and they lost. Lots to nitpick from this game. First of all, they're up 4-1 in the 8th inning. Taylor with a home run. Taylor with a 2-run double. Soto with a homer. There's your 4 runs. Peterson's dealing. He gets into the 8th. I was fine with Peterson starting the 8th. He was in the 80s. His pitch count wasn't high. He was dealing. You should have had someone ready. I think that's on Mendoza. Garrett should have been ready to go to probably face Acuna. You want righty, top of the order there. You could nitpick that. I didn't hate that. I don't think that's the reason they lost is because they left Peterson in for one extra batter. It's still first and second, nobody out. You're up 3 runs. You expect Garrett, who's been lights out this year, to get out of it. But like I said on here, I don't think we're still that comfortable with Garrett, despite him probably being an all-star this year. His ERA below 1 coming into the night. He still puts guys on and scares you a bit. Now, he gave him a single, got a strikeout, a pop-out. It's 2 outs. Alvarez calls for a fastball. Alvarez calls for a splitter. Garrett's wanted the fastball, is what Alvarez said after the game. He throws the splitter. Bang. Ozuna, who I think every Met fan just despises. Just a terrible person and a frustrating player to watch against the Mets. Ties the game with a 3-run double, and just like that, a 4-1 lead is gone. In the 9th, Soto a hit. Listen, bro, he's got to start taking accountability. To me, I thought it was infuriating that he got thrown out in that spot, doubled up. Acuna, incredible catch. Alonso, bad luck. I don't know what Soto was looking at that he thought that hit the wall. The replay clearly shows Acuna caught that against the wall, did not touch the wall. At least go back or just keep running. To stay in between first and second, you're going to get out no matter what the call is. And to blame the ump is doing nothing. In the end, you're out. So I thought that was infuriating by Juan Soto. And then blaming the ump after the game. Yeah, the ump could have made it a few seconds earlier. He was waiting to see if Acuna came down with it. Soto's got to look, and the first base coach got to say, come on back. But he was in no man's land there. Just awful. Hated that. He got picked off earlier in the game. You live with that. That just happens as part of the game. And then Alonso thinks his slide is like he's a magician now. Stop. You're not fast. Pete Alonso thinks he's fast. He's not fast. Stop trying to stretch every single into a double when it's going to be close, because he was out by 8 miles. And yes, with that slide, it became close. But that slide isn't like – it's like in my big fat Greek wedding. They think the Windex is going to clear the pimple. That slide isn't going to be safe every time if the ball beats you by 10 miles. So, some poor base running. That's 3 base running mistakes right there by the Mets. And then the capper in the end. First off, Jared Young, stop. Enough is enough with Jared Young, and we'll get into that in a bit, but he's got to be off this roster when, Mark Vientos is back. That's the first thing. I mean, Starling Marte should be in that spot. You could argue Marte should have started. Pinch hit there. I know it's not a spot to lay down a bunt, but with how bad the Mets have been with runners in scoring position, get Acuna to third, lay down a bunt. Marte's the best bunter on the team. I thought that was just a totally unproductive inning. Out. I mean, awful. Just unwatchable top of the 10th. And then the bottom of the 10th, listen, that's on Alvarez. This game to me in some ways is on Alvarez. How you don't look that runner down and throw the ball to third or run him back to second is nauseating. You're not a rookie anymore. That is a piss poor decision from Alvarez, who has gotten, I think, on our all last nerves. He is a guy that at one point was a 20 to 25 homer hitter as a rookie and has fallen off the face of the earth. And I've defended him long enough. He had his child. Enough is enough. You have to start Terrence. And that brings me to my next point. It's time for the Mets to sit Alvarez or send him down, one of the two. You have night game today, night game tomorrow, 3 night games in Philadelphia. There's no day game after night game. If I'm the Mets, I play Torrens 3 straight days and send a message to Alvarez that you're not our starter right now and you need to pick it up. Because you got to stop coddling him. Mendoza after the game doesn't blame him for anything. I'm sorry. I think we all like Alvarez. He's a likable guy, and the pitchers like throwing to him. But he does not make the Mets better. He makes them worse right now. And you're only 2 games up. You're going to have a tight divisional race with the Phillies. Maybe the Braves sneak their way back in now. Who knows? It's still too early to say that. But Alvarez costs them more than he doesn't. And even on that play where, the runner takes off for third because he was dumb enough and threw behind him to second, block that ball. Why is he trying to catch that backhanded? I'm no catching expert. I'm not a baseball player. But as someone who watches every night and has watched a billion baseball games, why are you backhanding that? Knock that down with your chest protector and make sure the runner doesn't even try to advance. Him backhanding that gave the runner a chance and he gifted you, and you still fucked up by throwing it a second. Excuse my French, but I'm pissed off today. I'm not panicking. I don't think the season's over. I don't think this is doom and gloom. But it was just a frustrating ways to lose baseball game. And it always seems to happen in Atlanta. And it always seems to happen in the month of June. So if I'm the Mets, enough is enough. Play Torrens today. Play Torrens tomorrow. Play Torrens Friday. Torrens has got to start a couple in a row and get a rhythm. And what it ultimately comes down to is the Mets don't have a lot of catching depth. We're all like, bring them down. And I'd be fine with it. But the reality is Hayden Sanger is not a major league catcher. He's been in the minors his career for a reason. He's not really a hitter. He's solid defensively. But you need some production out of the catcher spot. You can't just have that spot be a nobody. And Torrens, Alvarez has had a better average, has some better numbers than Torrens as Torrens has come down to earth. But I'd like to see some consistency. And you're going to get elite defense. Like, Torrens knows what to do. He's going to run that runner down, throw that to third there. That's not something that Torrens would mess up because he's elite behind the plate. I'm afraid Alvarez is not elite behind the plate. Pitchers can love throwing him as much as they want. He can be demonstrative. He doesn't block enough balls. He doesn't throw as many guys out as Torrens. And the fact is you got to bench him right now. And when you talk about, what else could they do? They could trade for someone. I don't think it's time to give up on Alvarez, but if the Mets are on the market to add catching depth, which they don't have any of, Parada has stunk in the minors, and Sanger's, like I said, is not a backup. Adley Rutschman, Orioles are in last place. I know Rushman's numbers aren't great this year, but he does get on base at a little bit better of a clip. He does hit for more power. He's got 8 homers. I'm saying trade for Adley Rutschman. If the Orioles made him available, he's intriguing. Hunter Goodman is the obvious answer, but if I'm the Rockies and you're trying to build around players, that guy's costing you nothing for like the next 5 years. He's not even arbitration eligible yet. I don't know why the Rockies would trade Goodman, but Goodman would be the number 1 guy on my list. The Mets are adding a catcher. But Adley Rutschman, when you just look at teams out of contention at the moment, which no one really is in the wide open American League, but the Orioles are 10 games under, I give the Orioles a call. You're already calling for Cedric Mullins. Hey, what about Adley Rutschman too? So that's who I'm looking at if I'm the Mets. And, speaking of moves that were made, McGill is going to the IL with elbow injury. Who starts on Friday? The answer is pretty obvious to me. Nolan McLean. Nolan McLean has a 2 ERA in AAA. He's had 5 outings where he's given up 0 runs out of 12. 5 out of 10 starts. Half of his starts, he's given up 0 runs. I mean, that's unheard of. He's been dominant in AAA. Give this kid a shot. Tidwell is due to pitch Saturday in AAA. McLean is Friday. You need a spot starter Friday. Call up McLean. And they said it's probably going to be a one-and-done guy. Fine. Call him up, bring him down, get him back up here again at some point. But this is McLean's job right now. We saw what we had in Tidwell. Tidwell has not been incredible in AAA like McLean has. Give McLean a shot. I'll be there on Friday in Philly. I hope we see McLean. McGill, we'll see how long this injury is. Who knows? It could be a phantom IL trip. But I think the answer is obvious. Mark Vientos, he began his rehab on Tuesday, went 0 for 4. The Mets want to play him a couple back-to-back games at third base. So it looks like he'll get 3 more games in AAA, which means maybe he's back up either Saturday or Sunday, and Philly is the soonest. I don't think he'll be up Friday, but I think there's a realistic chance Vientos is here Saturday or Sunday. And to me, the move is obvious. Get rid of Jared Young. And I know you're going to say Mauricio, and that might be the move too. But Jared Young does nothing. At least Mauricio, you can play a couple positions, and he's got speed. I know he hasn't hit off speed very well. He's been bad against the curve. but the move is obvious. Jared Young, there's no need for him on this roster. He's not a defensive player. He's like a first baseman and a backup outfielder, and he doesn't hit. Enough of Jared Young. I'm not sure his contract options. Send him down, DFA him, whatever you got to do. But move on from Young. Vientos replaces Young. I think Mauricio's probably next in line, and then Acuna. We'll see. It's going to be Mauricio or Young, 50-50 right now. I just think Young doesn't help this roster at all, where I think there is some potential in Mauricio. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Radio on all social, at Mets Daily Show on Twitter. Make sure you become a member below, just $5 a month. Mets Daily Insider. We appreciate your support. If you don't have $5 a month, subscribe to the channel at the very least. Comment below. We'll read your comments on tomorrow, Thursday's show. Paul Blackburn versus Chris Sale tonight. It does not look pretty on paper. It feels like it's shaping up for a Mets loss to be their 5th in a row. But they got to find a way to stop the bleeding. And Paul Blackburn can become a hero. We saw him dominate the Dodgers in his one start. Let's see what Paul Blackburn's got tonight. It doesn't look pretty, but the Mets need to end this losing streak. The division lead is 2. Thank God the Marlins beat the Phillies on Tuesday. But, it's getting tight. And the Mets got to play better baseball. They got to play less sloppy baseball. And Carlos Mendoza's got to push the right buttons now. When you start losing games multiple in a row, the manager gets a lot of critique, and I think the heat is on Mendoza right now. I think he's a great manager, but I think there is some heat on him. I personally am not going to blame him for a ton. I think he's dealing with the cards that he's been dealt, but he does deserve some blame, and everyone deserves some blame. This is a total blame effort for the New York Mets. Get a W tonight and try to salvage the series. You can't get swept in Atlanta because then you go to Philadelphia, and it could get ugly this weekend. So try and get a W. That's all you need. Tuesday pissed me the hell off, but you live to see another day. You wake up today to another game of baseball. Thanks for watching Mets Daily, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Let's go Mets.